I'm Jan Sanderson. I'm from Winnipeg, smack dab in the middle of Canada. I work for Red River College, and I'm thrilled to be at Macau for the World Forum. Okay, what excites me, and I think a lot of the people that are here at the forum, is that over the last couple of decades, there's just been this explosion in scientific research into how these little gaffers, these little babies, are learning and how much they already know as they enter the world, and how much their environment impacts on what they learn in those first early years of life, and what a window of opportunity that opens up for all of us to support their development in a way that can actually change individual lives, but it can change societies. A whole lot of what science is discovering is things that if you talk to an elder or a wisdom keeper in a community, they'll often say, well, we've kind of been doing that for generations. But now we can take the message forward into our academic institutions, into our communities, on the front lines through health workers in small villages and so on, to say that every moment of every day, you have an opportunity to support the brain development of your child. And it doesn't take baby Einstein toys or rich enrichment programs that you have to pay tuition for or anything like that. It takes relationships between caring adults and kids, and consistency, warmth, nurturing care. It doesn't even really take money. Having said that, poverty is a struggle for people. And when you're living in poverty, it's hard to find the time and the energy to build the relationships and provide the nurturing that we'd like. So yes, we need to keep up the fight against poverty. But while we're doing that, there's so many things we can be doing to support families to do everything that they really need to do for their kids in the early years. So we communicate that consistently at every level, and it means working across our systems. So it means that if I go to the public health nurse to get my baby weighed, she's going to give me a message, or he's going to give me a message around, talk to your baby. Every time you're doing something, have a conversation, bring language into the home, play with simple toys, the pots and pans, the sticks and stones that are available to you to provide some of that stimulation. So we can't deny that nutrition is important. Those things matter as well, but it's the combination of nutrition and stimulation. We also often talk about it as a serve and return. So as you're engaging with the child, watch what the child does in return and respond to that. And we've got lovely video clips all through the Science of ECD that demonstrate exactly that. And what we talk about now with parents is when that's happening, when you get that serve and return going back and forth, there's little sparks firing off in your baby's brain, and that's brain development. They don't need to know that it's brain synapses and all of that sort of thing. They need the positive reinforcement that you get from understanding that a simple activity like that is helping your baby's brain grow. And that's pretty motivating for parents. Nature has created it in such a way that it's of mutual benefit. When I see my child light up, I feel better, and you get that give and take going back and forth, so you get sort of a momentum going. It's why we have to pay so much attention to postnatal depression, because if mom is not mentally well enough to be able to provide that response, then you start running into the detrimental side of these things, where if she's exhausted or depressed and doesn't get the support she needs, then she isn't able to get that positive spark going back and forth. So it's one of the reasons why children who grow up with parents who are suffering from mental health issues often feel the impact of it. So again, from a health and education kind of perspective, we need to be watching for those kinds of characteristics or signs and be able to put the supports in place. I'd like to tell just a quick story about an initiative that we have going in the inner city of Winnipeg, where I come from in Canada, where poverty runs very deep. It's largely Indigenous populations, lots of social housing. And through a combination of government and Red River College and other partnerships, we were able to create an enriched learning center, early learning center in that community, right in the middle of the social housing project. And the families who expressed an interest in having their kids go, their names all went into a lottery because we didn't have room for all the children. So we're actually able to do a comparison between the kids that entered the program and the kids that were unfortunately not able to be in the program, and we've been tracking them. And the kids in the enriched childcare program, their development is just taking off. So we're tapping their full potential. The director of that childcare program has been working in the inner city for years. She's lovely, she's skilled, she's great. When you talk to her, her one regret is that she says, I didn't realize how much potential these children have that we just hadn't figured out how to tap into. And now we can watch them soar. The interesting thing from a public policy point of view is we're also watching their parents soar. So the fact that these kids are taking off on developmental trajectories, the number of times we've heard parents say, I had no idea Billy was so smart. Now I want to go back to school. I've got to keep up. I've got to get ahead of him. And it's released this positive energy and motivation for the parents as well, which from my perspective is a huge public policy lesson. If we can affect the current little child's generation and the parents, then we might actually be able to start to break the cycle of poverty for those families. So play is the first and best learning opportunity that we can offer kids. At first, when they're small infants, it looks like stimulation. You know, it's looking at mom's face and making eye contact and so on. But as they get a little bit older, it's first of all letting the child lead the play. So for many of us parents, we've forgotten how to play. So if someone turns to me and says, well, play with your child, I panic a little bit. I don't even know what that looks like. But if someone says, watch your child and do what they're doing, which means sitting on the floor, and if they're slapping the floor with their hands, you slap the floor with your hands, and you get that, again, that rhythm going back and forth. And as the child gets a little bit older and they want to bang the pots and pans, you bang the pots and pans. I was recently at a home visiting training, and the home visitors had one of those toys that's like a post, and you've got the colored rings on it, and there was a little child in the room playing with the rings, and the trainee home visitor was trying to get him to put the rings on the right way. And at the end, when we were sort of debriefing it, we were saying, he's 14 months old. There is no right way. There's just rings and a stick. And he was trying to put it on his head. And we said, put a ring on your head if that's what he wants to do. And they all were sort of like, and then we got them to try doing it. And everybody started laughing and having fun. And we went, you see, like that's kind of, just relax and go with it. And so if we can let the kids lead the way, and that's become a huge movement in the early childhood education field as well, is unstructured, child-driven play with adults standing back. And in fact, in some regions, and we'll talk about this in the workshop this morning, in the Anji region of China, the instructors at the early childhood program mostly have video cameras, and they're mostly videoing the kids, and at the end of the day, they ask the kids to tell them what they were doing when they were playing. And the kids explain what they were learning. And it's pretty fascinating.
Wow.
Yeah.